Awesome, Olabelle. You haven't even seen what I saw today. I literally, I mean, it made me fucking, I was about to go live. And I was like, I cannot go live this mad. And I tried to make a TikTok about it. And I was like, I can't say what I want to say about this stupid bitch or I'll get banned. So I couldn't. But, it's pretty bad.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is
Have you guys seen that? There's a guy that's kind of famous on TikTok. I think he's a cop or a former cop, and he doesn't do politics, right? But as soon as the hurricane hit, and there was all these rumors about FEMA not helping me, he made a video calling out Joe Biden. Now people are trying to get him to address the tornadoes, and Trump hasn't even mentioned them. And he's like, I don't do politics. I gotta find that guy and show y'all the hypocrisy.
wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Officer Udi, I think's his name, or something like that, right? Is that what you're talking about, Bug Dude?
And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
Do you guys know that Canada and the United Kingdom have put in travel advisories warning people from coming to the U.S. the same way that we do in like Sudan when there's like a civil war going on, or Syria when they know they're trying to like kidnap Americans. Yeah, I don't think you spelled it right, but I know what you mean. Same guy. Let me pause the music.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I'm Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. Consider supporting the show, guys. That's how I pay the bills currently. I think there's going to be some work, maybe picking up at the campground, some rebuilding, renovating. I don't know what the situation is right now or how I'm going to be paid, because the campground doesn't. The way I was paid before was because Mama Tot, she's real bad about that too. The way I was paid before is because it made money, right? And now I don't even know when the campground's going to be able to open back up, which obviously I don't mind helping the campground to get back on their feet, but I can't work for free. But the road is our biggest issue. And like if they started today on the road, like the washed out section of the road, I don't see it being done within, 6 months probably. It's so where the road is washed out is 90 some feet above the river, and the bank is just gone. So it used to be, it's half as wide as it used to be, and it's a tight road already. Like you have to pull over for people to pass, right? It's a 1-lane road. The rule was anybody coming into the campground is supposed to pull over for traffic, because the pull-offs are all on that side. The other side is like a fucking cliff, right? Like a rock wall, and then the river, and then the bank. So if you're coming into the campground, you're supposed to pull off because all the pull-offs are on your side, except if there's a camper. And if the camper's going in or out, like if somebody pulling a camper or driving an RV, you always yield to them because the thing's so big. And there's already some campers that are like pretty tight getting in and out of there. And now the road being the situation it is, I don't know. The good thing about the campground is I've talked to the owner. Like she doesn't owe any money on it. There's not like a loan on it. Short of taxes, it's not like she's going to lose it due to like payments to the bank or some shit, right? It's paid off. She just had to pay taxes on it yearly, and it's not like she's going to use it. But it's also not in a situation where it can bring in income until the road is fixed. Even if we were, like, let's say we did all the work we could do, and the campground was in perfect condition. We fixed the bank, we fixed the office, we rebuilt all the utilities, all that shit. With the road not open, there's nothing she can do. I wouldn't ask people to ever pull their camper like through there. Even if you thought you could make it work, it seems like a bigger hazard than what it's worth. Not to mention, like pulling a camper in and out could cause more of the road to collapse because it's like on a big overhang. So I don't know what the plan is. I know that they're trying to get funding and get roads fixed, but the way they're doing the road, which is probably the best way, is by traffic. So right now, as we sat, not in tourist season and with the campground closed, there's probably 5 cars a day that cross the road. And we've got other roads that are out that probably have, 1,000 cars a day cross the road. They're not going to come fix our road in front of those cars, which I can't really blame them for that one. So we'll just see what the highway department has in store. I've been bugging them. I asked them if we could get some like road closure signs. I asked them if they mind if I put up the gate that I put up that says residents only. And they said that was fine as long as I didn't completely block the road. I can't legally block the entire road, but I've got like a gate that blocks like half the road in a wider spot that says residents only beyond this point, road washed out, turn around, blah, blah, blah. And the other campground added a sign like cameras in use because we've had theft, or I don't know what their sign says. I also asked them for some road plate. So if you don't know, you've probably seen it when the government comes in, like cuts open a section of road, they'll take like some 3/4 inch or like 1 inch steel plate. If they're like working on it multiple days, like let's say there's a water line they have to dig up or something, and they'll just lay a big ass steel plate across it, and you can still drive across it because it's a steel plate, but there's a hole underneath it. So I asked them if we could get some steel plate from the highway department, if they had any, and maybe lay it down to make the road a little bit wider, and also spread out the load of driving over it so more of the road doesn't collapse in. I don't know. Our county's poor. Our one of the worst things that happened to our county besides the loss of life is our industrial park was like devastated. I'm sure that's where the county probably makes most of its tax. Most of its taxes could probably come from there. There was like a piping place. There was a shed place. There was 2 different plastic places. That's where those people died. Right from the flood that were washed away on the semi. That's our industrial park, and I'm sure a huge part of our tax base comes from that. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get to the point where they're just like, we're out of money. Sorry. That would fucking suck. I mean, the campground owner would still own the land, right? It's not like she's losing the land, but I don't know. It sucks. But hopefully there's some work coming there, and hopefully I can get paid for some of that work. I don't mind volunteering as much as I can, but I'm going to have to figure something out. Still waiting on the VA decision, and we're just upside down right now. We're not making enough. If we still had unemployment, if the Trump administration wouldn't have shut off unemployment on April the 5th, then we'd be fucking set. Like that little bit that we got from unemployment for me and Mariah was enough to hold us over and pay our bills, combined with my disability. But they stopped that on April the 5th. Anyways, I'm just complaining now. Let's check out some videos. You want to? I found maybe a more irritating video from the Jubilee debate. It kind of sucks playing these videos because Jubilee strikes my videos down. I think they took my YouTube video down yesterday, right? Because I had a Jubilee fucking thing in it. But this one's arguably worse than the first Jubilee atheist versus Christian debate debacle. Let's see. They'll probably take this one down too. Whatever. Do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good, right, notion of God, right? God is omnipotent, right? He's all good. He's all-knowing. He's everything. This goes back to the argument. Have you guys ever heard the argument about, what is it? Is it the most impressive unicorn? Or is it the best unicorn? Hold on. The most powerful unicorn? Sorry, I want to set it up right. It's a thought experiment. Is it the greatest unicorn? What is it? I think it's the greatest unicorn. And you think about this is to prove like existence, I guess. Okay, so a unicorn isn't real, right? So if you imagine the greatest unicorn, it's an ontological argument, right? If you imagine the greatest unicorn in the world, necessarily, like let's say it has the greatest horn, it has the greatest mane, it has the greatest coat and hair and hooves, and necessarily it has to exist, right? Because if I imagine the greatest unicorn in existence, and ours match. Most of our unicorns match. So I'm imagining one, you're imagining one. They have the greatest horn, the greatest hair, the greatest hoofs, the greatest body, the greatest legs, the greatest everything. But you imagine that yours exists, right? You imagine that yours actually exists in this realm of existence. Then yours would technically be greater than mine. All right, we're going in circles already. What do you mean by believe? So he says, "What do you believe in this all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good God?" He says, "What do you mean by believe?" And Parker says, "Do you think it to be true?" That's a circular argument. That's not a circular argument. Oh, you guys can't even hear it. That's not a circular argument. First of all
good notion of God.
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean when you say you believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if you believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
So the right will believe, like a circular argument is like when someone asks you, what is a woman? And you say anybody who says they're a woman, they'd say, oh, that's circular because we never get to a definition. But saying, do you believe this? And they're saying, what do you mean by believe? And we say, do you think it to be true? That's not a circular argument. That's the belief. That's what belief means.
Answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said, you think it to be true.
All right. So if you believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
You live for it and you die for it.
Okay.
All right, this is going to get really, really aggravating. If you believe something, he has set this up. No one trapped him in this, okay? He set this up. If you believe in something, you would stake your life on it, okay? If you believe something, you would stake your life on it. That is a leap, okay? That is a gigantic. I believe wholeheartedly that the earth is round. If someone comes to me and they're going to kill my kids over the earth being round, in a heartbeat, I would say it was flat. Right? They have a gun to my kid's head. You really think the earth is round? No, it's flat. You're fine. Whatever. Right? That is a leap from belief to wagering your life upon it.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
Not really, no.
Okay. So then,
How would you define belief? Something you say?
okay, so I explain, like, I could believe it is the case that this pen exists, but if someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie.
Oh my God. What is happening here, chat? That's got to be a scar. Maybe I shouldn't make fun of him.
To save your
Don't be
life?
so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life?
So he sets up this scenario, hypothetical, and he says, well, I believe this pen to exist, right? But if somebody was going to kill me over it, I would just no. And you would do that too. And he says, don't be so sure. So you would admit the pen exists rather than lying about it and let someone blow your brains out. But Jordan Peterson's going to be like, jump back to, I lost my business and I lost my teaching position for things that I believed in.
Pen exists, but if someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie to save your
Don't be
life?
so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life?
How much do you know about me? I didn't lie to save my career. I didn't lie to save my clinical practice.
Those are different things. You were getting quite a bit of fame at the same time, right? You were getting quite a bit of fame at the same time for saying these things. They were hot button political issues that you were saying, while garnering a lot of attraction from a lot of big names, and none of that equates to your life, right?
Would you lie to like save your children, your mom, your dad?
I don't think lying would save them.
No, can't.
All right, so he's got him trapped here. Now, I'm going to tell you, he's going to say it too, but he's got him trapped, okay? So, he sets up a hypothetical and says, imagine you're living in Nazi Germany, right? And someone you care about, a Jewish, are hiding in your attic, okay? German authorities show up and ask you if there's any Jews there. You're not going to lie to save their lives? Now, what do you think Jordan Peterson does with that hypothetical? Do you think he genuinely engages in it in good faith and says, well, yeah, you know, of course, there's sometimes that I would lie for the greater good. You think he engages with it in good faith? Abso-fucking-lutely not. I got strangled the first time. Abso-fucking-lutely not.
Can there ever be a circumstance logically that lying could save someone?
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like,
So he just said, is there ever a circumstance where, you know, it would be beneficial to lie? He's got him even more trapped. And Jordan Peterson says, if you're steeped in sin, yeah, your whole life's like that. If you're a sinner, your whole life's like that probably. You got to lie all the time.
Live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany, and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic and you're trying to
know
protect
the
them,
example.
would you lie to like the Nazis? if
I
they're
would have
asking?
done everything I bloody well could, so I wouldn't be in that
Would
situation
you
to
lie?
begin with. It's a
So he engages with a hypothetical by saying, I would have done everything I could have to never be in that situation, which essentially is defeats the purpose of the hypothetical, right? You're already in the situation. It's a hypothetical. This is why I don't do a hypothetical with retards in chats, right? Because they always change the parameters. If Trump did this, would you do that? I don't think Trump would ever do that. And I think that Trump's wives, Melania and his daughter, Ivanka, that they'd get together and they'd vote against it, and then they would never be in that situation. What the fuck? It's a hypothetical. To engage with it, to see if you can logically reason with what we're talking about. You already accept the terms. I say X, Y, and Z exists. You tell me how you would react. You don't get to go back and say X, Y, and Z would never exist. Yeah, that's why it's a hypothetical. But then this motherfucker engages in the hypothetical. He says, I would do everything I could to not be in that situation. And Parker comes back and says, well, you're already in that situation, so it's a hypothetical. I can't engage with that. But you just did. By saying that I would take steps to never be in this situation, you're already in this hypothetical. You're just back in time. I'm telling you that those steps failed. Now you're here. Now what?
Hypothetical, and it's not answerable.
Hypotheticals?
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like that because
Did
it's
you eat
far.
today?
You can't answer a hypothetical? By the way, the basis of what he does with logic and reason and going through these examples and is all hypotheticals, right? When we saw the other clip of the guy where he's like, well, I think you probably figured out some stuff while you were studying to be a priest. That's a hypothetical. Everything he does is hypothetical. That's how we get to your logic, to your reasoning, to your morals, is hypothetically, right? We have to lay out scenarios that probably would never happen to test your reasoning. I could never engage with a hypothetical, no.
Everything I bloody well could, so I wouldn't be in that situation
you
to
lie?
begin with. It's a hypothetical, and it's
You
not
can't answer
answerable.
hypotheticals?
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like
What?
that because
Did
it's
you eat
far.
today? Did you
Don't
eat
play
today?
games.
I'm not playing games. I'm just
Yes,
asking
you
if
are.
Did you eat today? Did you eat today? He won't answer because the next question, whether he says yes or no, the very next question is, how would you feel if you didn't eat today? How would you feel if you did eat today?
Like
What?
that because
Did
it's
you eat
far.
today? Did you
Don't
eat today?
play games.
I'm not playing games. I'm just
Yes,
asking
you
if you
are.
ate it.
I just told you
Hypothetical.
I would do everything that I could to make sure that I'm never in that situation. By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a
So by the time you've got to Nazi Germany, becoming Nazi Germany, and you hid Jewish people, you've made so many bad decisions by hiding Jewish people that every decision you have now is a sin. Because if he says he wouldn't lie, he's contributing to the death of those Jewish people. If he says he would lie, then he's caught in a lie, right?
to make sure that I'm never in that situation. By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany and trying to protect people that you care about, like there could be a Jewish friend that you have and you want to protect them.
I think you should
have
just
them in
give
your
up on
attic.
that line of questioning.
But like, okay,
Just give up on that line of questioning because I can't engage with it now. Just give up.
again, you're not answering this hypothetical because you know it shows that you clearly would lie to save
I'm
someone's
answering
life.
it in
Obviously,
a
that's
manner
not
you
what truth
don't
is.
find acceptable.
Obviously.
Because
Everybody would lie to save somebody's life that they love, that they care for, that they view as innocent. Maybe that maybe you don't even know them, but you view them as innocent. You would lie. Everybody would.
I care about truth.
I wouldn't be in that scenario.
Obviously, right?
Yeah, you don't own a time machine, motherfucker. No one's saying you would be in that scenario. It's a hypothetical.
I wouldn't be in that scenario.
Obviously, right? Logically, because that's
No.
already happened. Like that's in the past. You don't have a time to travel device.
He talks fast and says stupid shit with a lot of big words, and people just believe him. And like the red pill MAGA movement have latched onto him. He's not as big as he was, right? When he put himself in a coma in Russia to come off Xanax, a lot of people wrote him off. But then his daughter made a comeback with the fucking carnivore diet or whatever. All right, this is the one that had me hot to begin with. I'm about to show it to you. And try to contain my temper. You ready? This is what I opened TikTok to. All right, so first of all, you guys know what Memorial Day is, right? Memorial Day today. Well, I guess it's not after midnight, is it? No. Memorial Day is not for veterans, right? It's for people who gave the ultimate sacrifice, who died in the line of service. Okay, it was originally Decoration Day. It's a time of year when the flowers are in bloom. They go out and decorate graves, right? It's Memorial Day. Okay, it's not for veterans. If you know a living veteran and you say Happy Memorial Day, it's just awkward and weird, right? Because it's not for veterans. It's for people who died in service. Okay, for soldiers who died in service to this country. That's what Memorial Day is. For military personnel who died while serving the United States Armed Forces, it's always the last Monday of May. It started out as Decoration Day and then was moved to all wars or whatever. This is what I open my phone to, okay? This image, I'm going to have to stop the music on it. Hold on, let me mute it because it's copywritten music, I'm sure. This is what MAGA is doing now for Memorial Day. On this Memorial Day, we remember all who died in defense of freedom and those who died exposing its betrayal. Ashley Babbitt wasn't armed. She wasn't violent. She was an Air Force veteran, a truth seeker, and she was killed on U.S. soil by those who fear the people more than our enemies ever did. Ashley Babbitt, never forgotten. Hashtag Justice for Ashley. Hashtag Memorial Day 2025. Hashtag Freedom Bunker. They are celebrating Memorial Day for Ashley Babbitt, a fucking QAnon lunatic who was drove to the Capitol by Trump's tweets to expose the deep state, to have military tribunals and kill the politicians who didn't agree with Trump, who climbed through a window that had been beat open, right? Busted and beat open. Several commands telling her to stop, to not pass through that window, and was finally shot by Capitol Police because if she would have gotten through that window unobstructed, there was literally sitting congressmen and women straight down the hall. That was the last line of defense. She would have hands-on congressmen. And because the rhetoric surrounding her, Trump's DOJ folding and paying for this stupid bitch, right? They're paying out an undisclosed sum for her pain and suffering to her family. If anything, she's a traitor, right, to the oath she swore. Even if you don't like election results, you don't go killing fucking politicians, right? She knew that there was a gun pointed at her. She just kept on going. She's a fucking traitorous cunt. And MAGA is celebrating her for Memorial Day. This isn't the only post that I've seen. There's been many of them, but this one was the first one until I started looking. It's insane. In fucking insane, dude. They're fucking traitors, dude. All of them are fucking traitors. And cheer it on and think it's cool. Taking down the deep state. And then you have fucking Kash Patel and Dan Bongino getting in those positions and saying, well, you know, there is no deep state. Actually, I just heard Dan Bongino in that same interview. He was trying to get these fucking retards ready for an explosive report. But even he had to come out and say there's a difference between FBI agents and informants. You know how the Q-tards love to scream that January 6th was an inside job and the FBI had 30 billion agents on the ground? Of course there were informants. Not agents. Not paid working FBI agents. Informants within the crowd at the Capitol. No fucking shit, dude. It was some of the most violent and hate-filled rhetoric groups in the fucking world. Of course, there were informants there. Some of them didn't even know they were informants, by the way. Still informants. Of course they were. Did you not expect the Proud Boys to have someone in their ranks that were reporting back to the FBI? Or the 3%ers? You didn't think that anybody within the entire organization of the 3%ers was actually telling the FBI what their plans were? Of course there were. I would expect that. With thousands of fucking violent protesters, of course some of them are informants. Fucking idiots, dude. But Dan Bongino's trying to get everybody pumped up that there's going to be this explosive document come through Congress that's going to share how many informants there were. But even he had to come out and say, hey, there is a difference between informants and agents. Just want to let everybody know that. Fucking Jordan Peterson, dude. What about your Social Security? I'm sure it's safe, right? Always is. I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Social Security and call the Social Security. Right now, if you have an issue with your Social Security and call the Social Security Administration to ask about it, this is who picks up.
How can I help you today?
Can I speak to an agent?
To better serve you, please briefly explain the reason for your call. How can I help you today?
I didn't get a check in April.
The 2025 Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA, for Social Security and Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, beneficiaries is 2.5%. The standard Medicare Part B premium is $185 per month. If you're finished, feel free to hang up. Otherwise, how can I help you today?
That's enough to make you crazy. I mean, that was Social Security's new artificial intelligence chatbot. It is not particularly intelligent, it seems. So a week ago, a reporter from the Washington Post called the Social Security.
Can you imagine your 70-year-old grandparents doing this, or parents, or whatever, wherever you're at in life? But they're trying to do away with all of this, by the way, and make it all online to begin with. But right now they have a chat bot that loops you around. You say, I didn't get a check, and they're like, the cost of living, the COLA raises.
That's enough to make you crazy. I mean, that was Social Security's new artificial intelligence chatbot. It is not particularly intelligent, it seems. So a week ago, a reporter from the Washington Post called the Social Security hotline, that's what you just heard, with the very basic issue. She didn't get a check. She wanted to speak to an agent. This is something lots of people are experiencing. The reporter wanted to know how long it would take for the chatbot to help with that very simple issue.
I didn't get a check in April, and I want to speak to an agent.
You can get Social Security retirement benefits and work at the same time. Say agent for additional assistance. If you're finished, feel free to hang up. Otherwise, how can I help you today?
Agent.
For faster service.
Could you imagine me? Could you imagine me with my accent trying to do this same thing?
Please say the reason for your call. How can I help you today?
I didn't get my April check, and I want to speak to an agent.
The 2025 Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA.
I mean, that is maddening. And not only does Social Security already use that AI chatbot for its national phone number, it's planning to roll out that automated chatbot to all of its field offices by this summer.
It's insane, dude. It's insane. They've got it. They'll get it figured out. Even when it affects MAGA, even when it smacks them right in the fucking face, they're like, oh, well, little pain and gain or whatever. No, we don't have to go through any pain at all. Everything was going fine. You broke it. Here's some new legislation that's been coming out recently.
So if you don't live under a rock, you probably have seen that Texas is trying to ban weed and vibrators and said to yourself, what the actual fuck?
Texas is trying to ban weed and vibrators. They want the suicide rate to go up.
So if you don't live under a rock, you probably have seen that Texas is trying to ban weed and vibrators and said to yourself, what the actual fuck is going on over there? As somebody who was born and raised in Texas and is unfortunately like intimately familiar with the clownery, I would love to explain to you what the fuck is going on over there because it is so much more dramatic than you think in like a Real Housewives kind of way. Sorry, y'all like it when I talk fast, but now I'm out of breath. Anyways, to understand what's going on in Texas, you first have to understand kind of the rivalry situation that we've had for years between Texas and Florida, and also where Oklahoma and Arkansas and a sprinkle of Tennessee play into this. So the start of the story is that Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, and Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, have essentially been in a pissing match for the past several years, each of them trying to set himself up.
Our town is like that. So they're trying to close Social Security offices, but my town does not have a Social Security office. It's probably a 35-minute drive to get the Social Security office.
Ostensibly for a presidential.
And if you don't have, oh shit, I opened something else. And if you don't have, transportation, there is no public transportation that gets you there. Right. I guess you could walk for 4, 5, 6 hours, but that's the only way.
DeSantis, the governor of Florida, have essentially been in a pissing match for the past several years, each of them trying to set himself up ostensibly for a presidential run, which Ron DeSantis actually was trying to do this past round, if you will recall, before Don came in and ruined all of his hopes and dreams. So because Texas and Florida have been in this pissing match for years, what was happening is that Texas and Florida were back and forth, passing very similar legislation to each other, like basically trying to one-up each other in fucked up conservative legislation that they could pass.
It's all THC products.
Because again, Abbott and DeSantis were both trying to be like the ringleader of fucked up conservative legislation, because you have to understand, Ron DeSantis' life goal is to make everybody forget how short he is. And Greg Abbott's life goal is to promote equality by reminding people that disabled people can also be equally as horrible.
By the way, his disability story is fucked up. It's $8 billion. Yeah, I just looked it up. Their THC industry is $8 billion in Texas. His disability story is fucked up. Like he was I'm going to do this from memory. I think I know it. He was running, and a tree trimming company was trimming a tree. The tree fell and paralyzed him, okay? It hit him, paralyzed him. That's fucked up. He sued the company for a gigantic sum of money, and it's paid out yearly to him. Then, when he goes into politics, he helps to pass a bill that makes sure that no one else can sue the companies the same way that he did. That's like climbing the ladder and pulling it up behind you, right? When I watched the video, I was like, "Holy shit! How much does this guy hate himself?" Right? To limit commercial liability and accidents and shit like that, right? That's insane. Like that's how he got to where he is. This is it. Hold on. Or this is part of it. Since Greg Abbott received a settlement following his 1984 accident, lawmakers have erected hurdles for lawsuits and personal injury cases. There's a disagreement about whether Greg Abbott could get a similar settlement now. Of course he couldn't, but he's signed them all into law he hasn't advocated for people, nothing, right? His spine was crushed by a falling oak tree in 1984. He had no health insurance, no paycheck, and no feeling in his legs. But he had a good lawyer, and back then accessed the civil justice system that was generally hospitable towards plaintiffs. So Abbott did what many people would do in this situation. He sued them. Nearly 30 years later, as Texas Attorney General and the leading candidate for governor, Abbott is facing new questions about the multi-million-dollar settlement he was awarded and about his advocacy of laws that critics say have tilted the judicial scales towards civilian defendants. Those critics, generally Democrats who oppose the Republican-backed lawsuit curbs, say policies Abbott has fiercely promoted over his career as a judge and elected official make it virtually impossible for a plaintiff to win the kind of award that he got. You would think that a young man at the start of his career, crippled by an injury, would want to make sure that others that may have the misfortune to follow in his footsteps would ensure for those people had the opportunity to be compensated for their injuries in the same way he was, said Tommy Fibich, a Democratic donor and personal injury lawyer. He instead closed the door because that would help him get reelected. This was obviously written back when he was Attorney General. Abbott said the reforms he had backed and helped cement in court rulings had been necessary to curb a rash of frivolous lawsuits. But he said the changes would not affect people like him. If there were someone jogging today, got hit by a tree today, suffered the same kind of accident today, they would have access to the very same remedies I had access to, he said. Our legal system was abused in this state, he continued. There are many invalid claims that were filed in court that clogged up the courts that either denied or delayed access for people who had valid claims. Tort laws have changed drastically since Abbott's accident, adding hurdles for people who sue for personal injuries and making it harder for them to win large sums. But there's a disagreement about whether Abbott could receive a similar settlement today. The accident happened on July 14th, 1984, when Abbott was 26-year-old law school graduate was jogging. As he ran through the affluent River Oaks neighborhood in Houston, a giant post oak tree snapped at its base and fell, striking Abbott in the back. The 75-foot tree crushed his spine, leaving him paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair. Abbott sued the homeowner whose tree fell on him, Roy W. Moore, a go-to divorce lawyer for affluent Houstonians, people from Houston, and the Darby Tree Expert Company, which had inspected the tree for Moore. Abbott alleged that Moore and the tree company were negligent for failing to warn people about the dangerous tree or to take action to prevent it from falling. In addition to claiming medical expenses, the lawsuit said Abbott had suffered injuries resulting in physical pain, mental anguish, and physical impairment, as well as the reduced capacity to work and earn money. Moore was not at home when the tree fell on Abbott, but Moore, now retired, said in a recent telephone interview that he had been shocked to learn that the towering oak tree had rotted from the inside out. I had walked outside the morning before, and it looked green as a gourd, he said. I had no idea the thing was hollow. Moore said he never thought and still does not think that he had any liability. He also believes he would have won the case had it gone to trial. I don't blame him for suing me, said Moore, who plans on voting for Abbott for governor. But I don't know what the basis of the claim was. To tell you the truth, except that you had a Rich Oaks lawyer and a poor boy that was crippled for life. Court records show that Moore blamed the Davy Tree Expert Company for Abbott's injuries. Records indicate that the company had inspected Moore's trees early in 1983 and found them in pretty good condition. But the report took special note of a tall one near the sidewalk. There's some basal decay in the post oak, but that can't be corrected, it said. Basal decay indicates rotting at the base of a tree. The company recommended fertilization, the wrong treatment, according to Abbott. Davy Tree denied any negligence at the time and declined to comment for this article. The parties reached a settlement in 1986, the details of which Abbott discussed for the first time last week. The proceeds were paid by the defendant's insurance companies. Under the agreement, Abbott receives a periodic lump sum payments plus monthly income for life. By the end of this year, he will have received about $5.8 million, and this was in 2013. In 2013, $5.8 million, and is entitled to monthly income from the settlement until he fucking dies. Then he fights to prevent other people from doing the exact same thing. His medical expenses were $82,000. 2 months of lost wages from his job. Future medical costs, but most of the settlement came from the non-economic loss for pain and suffering and mental anguish, said Abbott's former lawyer. The strength of the case was in the intangibles, the non-economic items, said Riddle, who has been critical of Abbott's pro-tort reform stance. That's crazy, right? In 1995, they capped the damages stemming from non-economic losses to $750,000. So he's collected over $5.8 million in 2013 from non-economic damages mostly, right? He had about $100,000 in medical bills and 2 months worth of lost wages. But they cap it on everybody else. They cap it on everybody else at $750K. Lawmakers also erected hurdles for plaintiffs who try to collect from multiple defendants. Meanwhile, the conservative Texas Supreme Court, on which Abbott served from 1996 to 2001, began adopting tighter standards for losses that involve pain and suffering and mental anguish. Then in 2003, the legislature capped non-economic damages and medical malpractice cases at $250K, a move that Abbott also supported. That means when medical equivalent of a freak tree accident happens in an emergency room today, people who sue the doctors face a limit on that amount of non-economic damages they can receive. That limit is frozen in statute at $250K and does not have any built-in increases for the rising cost of living. Nuances in the law can lead to higher awards in wrongful death cases or when more than one healthcare institution is involved. What a piece of shit, dude. Anyways, back to this. I got sidetracked because I hate Greg Abbott. Governor Hot Wheels.
Like the ringleader of fucked up conservative legislation, because you have to understand, Ron DeSantis' life goal is to make everybody forget how short he is. And Greg Abbott's life goal is to promote equality by reminding people that disabled people can also be equally as horrible as people without disabilities. So they've been doing that for the past several years. Over here in Oklahoma, where I am now, Kevin Stitt has been watching them, the governor of Oklahoma, and being like, that seems kind of cool. Maybe I should start copying.
It's like all the MAGA governors and politicians, with state politicians, are in a race to see how they can suck up to Trump the most, right? They need headlines. They need pro-nationalist, Christian nationalist stuff, and they need to make it salacious so people talk about it or whatever, right? And that gets Trump's attention, and Trump gives them a wink or a pat on the dick or whatever he does.
But it's like in a little neighbor kid way. He's like the little neighbor kid bouncing on the trampoline, looking over the fence, trying to see what the grown-ups are over there arguing about. And old Kev somehow has it in his head that he has a snowball's chance in hell of ever becoming president. So he thinks that he's setting himself up for presidential run too. But instead he's just being a clown, which is why you see Oklahoma sometimes pass just incredibly out of left field legislation. It's because Kevin was like, hey, what if I did something even crazier than either Abbott or DeSantis is doing? And it's just completely divorced from any context and just makes him look stupid. Arkansas has dipped its toe in the water of this, but Arkansas also cannot decide whether it wants to be Oklahoma 2.0 or whether it wants to market itself as an attractive, fresh, fun opportunity for young professionals, which it had been doing for a while. And that doesn't really mesh well with having all of your fundamental rights stripped away. So they're kind of still trying to decide what they want to do right now. And then Tennessee was trying to do that whole anti-drag thing, but faced a bunch of backlash for that because it doesn't really work out well to censor people in that way when you are a core component of the music industry. So they've been quiet for a while. Anyways, all of those players have all been trying to outpiss each other for months and years now. But whenever the inauguration happened and then the federal government entered the pissing contest, all of these states have kind of just been distracted, just staring in shock and awe. It's like if all your neighbors are outside arguing and then suddenly a fire truck drives by blaring, everyone might stop for a minute and be like, I wonder what that guy's doing. Then once the fire truck gets far enough away, they're gonna start arguing again. And what is happening right now with Texas is that they have all been distracted, all of these players have been distracted by the absolute buffoonery going on in the federal government. And Texas was the first one to be anyway, back to what I was saying, and try to jump on it as a way to edge out Florida. And that's why they're trying to do this double whammy, no weed, no vibrators thing, because they're trying to be the first ones back on the ball after everyone was distracted. All this to say, expect something very similar from Florida soon. Oklahoma is kind of screwed right now. It's kind of backed himself into a corner because we already have legalized medical marijuana, and it has been a huge source of revenue for the state. So there isn't really a way to back out of that one without fucking over a lot of people that he needs to keep unfucked. But yeah, that's your little 3.5 minute intro to how all of these states and all of these governors are really just real housewives.
It's like they're in a race to suck up to Trump, which is wild. Banning weed and vibrators. What the fuck, dude? Come to Texas, have a good time, huh? It's a race to the bottom. A race to the bottoms. Anyways, it's Memorial Day, so hope you celebrated Memorial Day, I guess. Start to summer. There you go. It's not about Ashley Babbitt, I can tell you that much. Let's see. Tourism losses.
Catastrophic and unprecedented $12.5 billion loss for tourism. You heard me correctly, $12.5 billion loss.
So, of course, I had to research this. I had to check it out. I had to fact check it. And sure enough, yes. So first, I found a story about it in Newsweek, but I wanted to go to their source. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, these are the people that actually did the study and the report, the World Travel and Tourism Council. Yeah, not good. One thing that piqued my attention, trade deficit. The U.S. will now run a $50 billion annual travel trade deficit. Nobody wants to come here. Why don't they want to come here?
Weird. Why wouldn't you want to come to the U.S.?
Controls visa delays and reports of tourist detentions. Wow. Countries like Canada and the UK issued travel advisories.
Uh-oh.
People in other countries are telling their citizens not to come to our country.
That's weird. Why would we do that?
The thing. Yeah. Another thing I found very interesting was that the United States is the only country among 184 economies analyzed by the World Tourism and Travel Commission expected to see a decline in tourism in 2025. Wow.
The Texas ban includes Delta 8, Delta 9, and all other forms of THC, including beverages, cannabinoid in the state, any cannabinoid in the state, with the exception of CBD and CBG. So you can still sell those. And it does not affect the whatever Texas compassionate use program is, I guess, into life care. Over the past, Tennessee will probably be doing this too, because like the vape shop, the gas station, the vape shops are popping up everywhere with big giant signs saying, we got this type of THC, that whatever. They're all over the place.
But who will this impact the most? Who will this impact the most? There's a lot of really small businesses in travel and tourism. People think of the airlines and maybe the big resorts and hotels. There's 100 tiny little small businesses in between those big businesses that really make all of this run.
And they'll fall first. The small businesses will, of course, fall first, right? Because they don't have the capital to weather the storm. They don't have assets to sell off to get through the next year or two, right?
They're all going to suffer because of this. Millions of jobs, hundreds of billions of dollars annually industry. And we're decimating it. Why? Why are we doing this again? So Donald Trump can look tough for his base. We're going to lose $12.5 billion in tourism so Donald Trump can look tough because his psyche is so fragile and should be so important to us. Yeah. Just one of the thousands of reasons why character matters in a president. Character matters. A lot of you people don't think it matters, just want to get the job done. Character matters. If nobody wants to work with your president, it hurts your country. It hurts your business.
Does it? No.
$12.5 billion to your tourism industry so far. The truth is we have a lot of really soft people in this country who work really hard to convince us that they're not at all soft, but that's exactly what they are. Because they have to spend all of their time propping up their really soft leader, who is the softest of them all. Yet another example of Trump being so fragile that it literally costs people their jobs. Thanks.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, you guys, you want to talk about the psychology of avoidance and authoritarian movements? No? How about we simple it down a little bit? How about why Trump supporters hate the word?
They've got a bunch of, they've isolated a bunch of weird things that people get high off of it. I have the feelings. I know a bunch of people that I used to smoke with in high school buy weird, different strains and shit, which is honestly, they could just drive to Virginia and just buy it, right? You can't technically buy it. You actually buy something else, then you trade it for free. But there's a bunch of shops open just across the border in Virginia, like Bristol area. Shops all over there. But my one good buddy just buys the stuff at the vape shop, smokes it.
Why? That's better. Well, first of all, what are you asking when you ask the question why? Like, what's your aim? What's your goal, right? So you're asking for an explanation. You're asking for accountability. You're asking for introspection. And in politics, especially with an authoritarian leader, it provokes uneasy feelings, discomfort, hostility. You see, it's not only Donald Trump that exhibits authoritarian tendencies. It's also his base. They have to believe in that as well, to believe in Donald Trump, whether they know it or not. The fact is, authoritarians are far more likely to follow an authoritarian than non-authoritarians. So when you ask someone why, they view that as an attack rather than a request for explanation or reasoning. A great example is, gas prices are the lowest they've been in 20-some years when adjusted for inflation. That's what they ask. And then I'm over here and I'm like, okay, why? And that's a big problem. Asking why is a big problem. And that's why so many of them hate me so much. That's fine.
Not allowed to ask why.
For justification disrupts the emotional certainty that they need to bind to the Trump narrative, basically.
Uh-oh,
Why?
Dr. J.
Confront.
Look out.
We've heard that word a lot over the last 10 years.
Gaming grannies.
And that is, in fact, the mental
What game are you playing recently, Dr. J? What have you been playing?
that comes about when their beliefs clash with reality. You see, answering the question of why.
As soon as I get back to paychecks, I'm buying that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I'm super stoked about it. It's a whole storyline and stuff. I've been purposely not watching videos about it because I'm afraid I'll get spoilers. I'm excited.
Would actually be an admittance or a confession, if you will, of error. They can't do that. Yeah, so you just reject the question altogether and you call it, fake news or liberal propaganda. But you never under any circumstance, attempt to answer the question why. Yeah, like, the question of why is, they view that as condescending. You see, these people view or prioritize how they feel over what they know. Yeah, and questioning that is an attack on their belief system. The question why also attempts to establish a fact-based framework. Oh boy. And, a fact-based framework would certainly feel more like an attack than an attempt at just simply having a conversation. This is particularly true for those that have tied their whole personal and self-identity to Trumpism. 100%. Yeah, so avoiding that question of why is...
It depends on what state you're in, but you can find CBD all over the place. It's weird. Some people, I guess people suggest doing your research because a lot of these things are not even what they claim to be. They're like synthetics that they've made in a lab somewhere in China. So be careful.
It's not just to prevent them from answering difficult questions. It's also meant to protect the image of Donald Trump himself. And you may be asking yourself, why in the world are you studying this and trying to figure all of this out? And it's because if you don't understand the people that you're speaking to on a daily basis, if you don't understand the psychology, then you're never going to be able to get through to them. So it's and honestly, I don't know if it's worth the effort, but
So by the way, somebody in his comments says, apparently a Trump supporter says, I'll answer any questions you have. What leads you to believe he's an authoritarian? And someone says, his policies, the words that come out of his mouth, the way he acts, the way he interacts with other countries, etc. Okay, so those are four things. His policies, the words he says, his actions, and his interactions with other countries. This person immediately responds with, none of that would imply that he's authoritarian. So his words, so if he came out and said, I'm an authoritarian, those couldn't possibly. They don't even realize that they're living the meme. They're living the meme. He just said you can't ask these people or they'll just lie to you or you can't ask them at all or you're getting in trouble. Someone says, no, you can ask me anything. Why do you think this? Someone responds that, nope, can't be. Impossible. That's just you not liking him. His policies? It's just me not liking him?
I feel like I should make an effort to learn. And maybe I can frame my conversations better where I can actually get through to some of these people. One thing I read was, to avoid asking the question why and maybe try to ask the word how or what. But yeah, I've tried that. That doesn't work any better. One thing for sure, as long as Trumpism is alive, the word why or the question why will always be its greatest fear and enemy. Yeah, thanks. Hey, you guys, you want to talk about the psychology
Jesus fucking Christ. All right. Dramatic readings, I guess. Happy Memorial Day to all, including the scum that spent the last 4 years trying to destroy our country through warped radical left minds, who allowed 21 million people to illegally enter our country, many of them being criminals and the mentally insane, through an open border that only an incompetent president would approve, and through judges who are on a mission to keep murderers, drug dealers, rapists, gang members, and release prisoners from all over the world in our country so they can rob, murder, and rape again. All protected by these USA-hating judges who suffer from an ideology that is sick and very dangerous for our country. Hopefully, the United States Supreme Court and the other good and compassionate judges throughout the land will save us from the decisions of the monsters who want our country to go to hell. But fear not, we have made great progress over the last 4 months, and America will soon be safe and great again. Again, happy Memorial Day, and God bless America. That's the president. That's the president of the United States posted that today. Donald Trump posted that on his social media for fucking Memorial Day. He could have just said, Happy Memorial Day to everybody. Remember those who gave all. His speech for Memorial Day turned into a rant. Have you guys seen the speech? Let's see if I can grab it. A rant about Joe Biden. He's a fucking lunatic, dude. Like, who the fuck does this? Very happy you invited me to your wedding, but I remember when you used to be a whore. She slept with so many men. Fucking whore. And this guy, he probably doesn't even make any money, does he? Like, what the fuck? Just say Happy Memorial Day and move the fuck on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vice President J.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to that incredible choir and band, and thanks to
We'll speed through J.D. Vance
for your powerful words. Thank you, most importantly, for everything that you do for our nation's war fighters and for those who have given their lives to this country. We remember you today, and certainly to our Gold Star families, who are so thrilled and so grateful to have you with us in attendance. This is a sacred place, an eternal resting spot for our nation's sons and daughters. We gather in solemn commemoration of their sacrifice and the sacrifice made by all.
At least J.D. Vance has, like, you know, he has at least some respect for the office in that he at least most of the time is like up talking on a level like this, right? That normal people are not like, what the fuck? This is about Memorial Day. What's he talking about sharks and electrocution for? You know what I mean? I miss the way that, even though I was trained to hate him, I did hate him at the time. I believe that he was trying to destroy America because he was a traitor and a piece of shit and potentially Muslim, because that's the way I was raised. Going back now, I miss Obama's speeches.
All those who gave up
a tiny bit of decorum. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Lives in service to our beloved country. In 1915, President Woodrow Wilson laid the cornerstone of the memorial amphitheater we gather in today. Now, buried within it was a copper box, which contained mementos of profound significance to the amphitheater's designers and to our entire country. There were 4 things: an American flag, a Bible, a copy of our Declaration of Independence, and a copy of the U.S. Constitution. And they stood.
Let's get to Trump's speech.
A very tough deployment for our nation when I say that we are grateful to them and to you for a debt none of us can possibly repay.
It's about Memorial Day, right? It's fallen soldiers, all that stuff.
And now, without further ado, let me please introduce your president, the people's president, the president who knows what these men and women, what they sacrifice for, and who honors them every single day in the job that he does, President Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. A very special place and a very special day. Thank you to Vice President Vance, doing a terrific job. Thanks also to a man who has devoted his life to service members and veterans, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who's doing really well. He went through a lot, didn't he? But he's doing really well. He's a tough cookie. That's what we want. He's a tough cookie. And we're grateful to be joined as well by Chairman Kaine, terrific military person, members of the Cabinet, members of Congress, members of the United States Armed Forces, veterans, and many other distinguished guests. We gather today to honor the incredible service members who rest in glory in this cemetery and burial grounds around the world and in 1,000 lonely places known only to God. In every hour of peril, in every moment of crisis, American warriors have left behind the blessings of home and family to answer their nation's call. They've offered all that they had within them and given their last breaths to each and every one of us that we might live safe and breathe free. This morning we pay tribute to their immortal deeds. We share in the sorrow of their beloved families, and as one nation we give thanks for the ultimate gift they have so selflessly given to all of us. These warriors, and that's what they are, as great, great warriors, picked up their mantle of duty and service, knowing that to live for others meant always that they might die for others. They knew that. They asked nothing for it. They gave everything, and we owe them everything and much, much more. Each of the service members who have made the supreme sacrifice for our nation has also left an unfillable void and an unbreakable silence in the lives of all who love them. For the families of the fallen, you feel the absence of your heroes every day in the family. These are great families. These are wonderful families.
Great families, wonderful.
No longer heard.
Best families.
Face at Sunday dinner, or the want of a hug or a pat on the back that will never come again. Every Gold Star family fights a battle long after the victory is won, and today we lift you up and we hold you high.
He can't stand but add to it, right? Like, and these wonderful families, they are wonderful. They're great families. That's what they did. They knew it. He can't stand but to add to it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for giving America the brightest light in your lives. It's what you've done.
It's what you've done.
Never, ever forget our fallen heroes, and we will never forget our debt to you. This Memorial Day is especially significant as we commemorate 250 years since the first American patriots fell on the field of battle. 2.5 centuries ago, at Lexington Green, Concord Bridge, Bunker Hill, brave Minutemen and humble farm boys became the first to give their lives for a nation that did not yet have a name. With their deaths, men like John Brown, 23, Samuel Hadley, 28, and Abner Hosner, 21, ignited.
What was that one?
Like John Brown, 23, Samuel Hadley, 28, and Abner Hosner, 21, ignited the flame of liberty that now lights the inspires everybody and the entire world. Those young men could never have known what their sacrifice would mean to us, but we certainly know what we owe to them. Their valor gave us the freest, greatest, and most noble republic ever to exist on the face of the earth. A republic that...
You missed one of them there.
After a long and hard 4 years. That was a hard 4 years we went through.
Here we go.
I am fixing after a long and hard 4 years. That was a hard 4 years we went through.
We're getting off script.
Who would let that happen? People pouring through our borders unchecked. People.
Bro, it's Memorial Day. He did the same fucking thing. He doesn't know the difference between like a speech for a purpose and a rally speech. He did the same fucking thing at West Point at the commencement. He's like the radical lunatics and the transgenders. What?
People doing things that are indescribable and not for today to discuss. But the republic that is now doing so very well, we're doing so very well right now, considering the circumstances, and we'll do record-setting better with time. We will do better than we've ever done as a nation, better than ever before, I promise you that. In every generation since, at Trenton and Yorktown, at Vicksburg and Shiloh, and in faraway places with names like Chateau, Harare, Anzio, Iwo Jima, Quezon, Kandahar, really just a few chosen names, and these are names that have become so important on the altar of freedom. They plunged into the crucible of battle, stormed into the fires of hell, charged into the valley of death, and rose into the arms of angels. The sacrifice that they made was not merely for a single battle, a long ago victory, or a fleeting triumph, decades or centuries past. Their sacrifice was for today, tomorrow, and every morning thereafter. Every child that lives in peace, every home that is filled with joy and love, every day the Republic stands is only possible because of those who did what had to be done when duty called, and the cost was everything to them and to their families. Our debt to them is eternal, and it does not diminish with time. It only grows and grows and grows with each passing year. The greatest monument to their courage is not carved in marble or cast in
billions and billions.
an American nation, 325 million strong, which will soon be greater than it has ever been before. It will be. And so today we uphold the memory of our heroes as people have done since ancient times by telling their stories and exalting their names. Senior Master Sergeant Elroy Harworth was a young, beautiful man from Earhart, Minnesota.
A young, beautiful... What? Hold on. Young and beautiful, like I like them.
Senior Master Sergeant Elroy Harworth was a young, beautiful man from Earhart, Minnesota, when he enlisted in the Air Force and was sent to Vietnam. 59 years ago this very week, Elroy and his crewmates climbed into the dark skies over Da Nang on a classified mission known as Operation Carolina Moon. Their aim was to blow up a key enemy bridge.
A Hanoi Bridge.
Had tried and failed. They would
North Vietnam.
try and get it done in face of extreme danger, and they knew how bad it was. As their C-130 closed in on its target, and Elroy jockeyed his 5,000 pounds of explosives into position, the aircraft came under unbelievably intense fire. They'd never seen anything like it. Try as they might, they were hit as the plane swung low and they went down deep in enemy territory. Elroy was just 24 years old when he gave his life for America, leaving behind a beautiful young wife who was 7 months pregnant. That meant Elroy would never know the joy of meeting his son Troy or seeing him grow, and he would never have the pride to watch his son follow in his father's footsteps and serve 2 decades in the U.S. Army. Sergeant First Class Troy Harworth is with us today, joined by his wife Sonia and their son John, the grandson Elroy never got to hold. Thank you, Troy, and thank you, John, and above all, thank you, Elroy. Thank you very much. Please stand up. Thank you, wherever you may be.
Anytime I hear Elroy, I always think about the Jetsons. But.
Thank you very much.
Excel Spreadsheets. It's a very funny name.
Great family. Corporal Ryan McGee of Fredericksburg, Virginia, knew from the time he saw the towers fall on 9/11 that he wanted to be an Army Ranger. He was an American guy, all American. He was a tough guy. He was at the top of everything. In high school, he was captain of the football team and was voted friendliest and most charming by his peers. Ryan joined the Army soon after graduation, and after 3 tours,
Jane, his wife,
to Iraq, hunting down a weapon facilitator and a suicide bomber cell near Baghdad, a vicious, vicious cell, killing many, many people. 16 years ago this month, they engaged the enemy in a firefight, and Ryan was mortally wounded. He gave his life at 21 years old, and today he rests until the end of time in the famed Section 60 here at Arlington, where we...
He was from, Ryan McGee was from 3rd Battalion, from the 75th Ranger Regiment.
Dead from the War on Terror. We are joined today by Ryan's mom, Sherry, and Sherry, all of America shares in your grief, and more importantly, we share in your pride in your wonderful son. And thank you so much for being here, Sherry. Please, Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you very much. On behalf of everyone. This crowd is so big, she's hard to find. Once I saw her, she really stands out. Thank you, Sherry, very much. Senior Chief Petty Officer Shannon Kent grew up in Pine Plains, New York, before enlisting in the Navy in 2003, and she quickly became one of the rising stars. She was an absolute winner. As a linguist, translator, and cryptologic
a linguistic translator, cryptologic, cryptologic. Duh.
And she quickly became one of the... Shannon Kent grew up in Pine Plains, New York, before enlisting in the Navy in 2003. And she quickly became one of the rising stars. She was an absolute winner. As a linguist, translator, and cryptologic
technician. Crypto, where you and your sons have made all your shady money. Logic, technician.
And she quickly became one of the rising stars. She was an absolute winner. As a linguist, translator, and cryptologic technician, Shannon worked alongside elite special force units like Delta Force and Navy SEALs to cryptologic.
She was killed by a suicide bomber in Syria.
And she quickly became one of the rising stars. She was an absolute winner. As a linguist, translator, and cryptologic technician, Shannon worked alongside elite special force units like Delta Force.
Her, that's the one that book was about that we were talking about that one day. The book is called Send Me, I think. And it's the story of a mother at war. Send Me, Mother at War, or the story of a mother at war, or a mom at war, something like that. Her husband, Joe Kent, also does the same thing with a different team, and he was also abroad at the time. Yeah, she has an incredible life story.
And Navy SEALs to help them capture and kill terrorists. She was among the first women ever to do it, and she did it better than anyone. In January 2019, Shannon was on her 5th combat deployment, embedded with a team hunting ISIS terrorists through the streets of Syria when a suicide bomber detonated his weapon, killing Senior Chief Kent and 3 other wonderful, beautiful Americans. She left behind her husband, Joe, and their 2 sons, 3-year-old Colt and 18-month-old baby Josh. Today, Shannon rests in peace on these grounds alongside her comrades. To her boys, Colt and Josh, who are here this morning, now aged 9 and 7, let me say your mom was a hero, and her love, her strength, and her spirit are always with us and always be with you. She loved her boys. To Joe, the boys, Shannon's parents, Mary and Steve.
Cryptologic.
And her sister Mariah. Shannon's name will live forever in the chronicles of true American patriots. I just want to thank you, and thank you so much for being here in honor of your magnificent family member. Stories like Shannon's, Ryan's, and Elroy's remind us of the real meaning of the day. And I want to just say, please stand up wherever you may be. The boys, I want to see those boys. Where are you?
I think this might be it. She's a bunch of firsts. Like that was a good pick for his speech. I don't know if she's a Trump supporter or her husband probably is, but let's see if we can check this out. She is one badass woman. Chief Shannon Kent.
She was the one hunting terrorists.
This is her husband talking about her.
She made impacts to national security that we won't know about for decades to come.
she had survived cancer.
She spoke 5 different languages and multiple different dialects of those languages. A combat veteran serving at the highest levels of special operations.
I think it's really important to tell the stories of people who haven't had their stories told before.
While serving at this high level of special operations and raising a family, and most of her life is and will be classified for the foreseeable future.
We're here to tell Shannon's story.
I think at the end of the day, maybe this is that book that the intelligence community can point at and say, this is us. We're not Shannon, but the Shannon was the best of us, and this is all our story.
He was just like, hey, I'm going to tell you what we know. We don't know much right now. He's like, there's been a suicide bombing in Manbij. There's 4 U.S. killed. 2 of them are women. Do you know where Shannon is? And I was like, fuck, she's in Manbij.
This is a quick rundown, but she really was a badass. Manbij, Syria, M-A-N-B-I-J. In the wake of the destruction left by the war against ISIS, Special Forces teams remained in Syria to conduct intelligence operations and assist in rebuilding efforts. She was literally embedded with Special Forces teams. Like, she wasn't like a linguist sitting behind a desk or intercepting messages. She was embedded with SF teams on the ground.
On January 16, 2019, Shannon Kent and Scotty Wirtz, they linked up with cross-functional team Manbij, or just CFT Manbij. They rolled out in a convoy that morning to go conduct a routine patrol, but what the purpose actually was is so Shannon and Scotty could peel off and go conduct a meeting outside of a local.
So the routine patrol was just their cover. That's how you insert people like this. Like when you get inserted into like a sniper hide, they'll set up a checkpoint and you'll peel off, separate or whatever, but you have to hide. They watch the bases constantly, right? Constantly. Count how many people are leaving, how many people come back and shit. So you have to hide. You have to use a normal thing, a patrol or whatever, to do your abnormal thing, kind of.
Restaurant. They set up synced watches, confirmed their time to be back, and they all kind of went their separate ways. Another intelligence soldier, Devin Clark, went up to the 2nd floor of the restaurant to provide overwatch. A few people stayed with the vehicles. The rest of CFT Manbij went out on their foot patrol, and Shannon and Scotty went off to go do what I now just call Shannon stuff, because all of it is classified. It was about an hour or so later that they linked back up again and were getting ready to load the vehicles up. They were just doing their quick little debrief on, hey, we got this, we got that, and go load vehicles. It was at that moment an ISIS suicide bomber walked into the middle of their group and detonated a suicide vest. The blast was significant. It immediately killed Senior Chief Petty Officer Shannon Kent, former Navy SEAL Scotty Wirtz, Green Beret Warrant Officer Jonathan Farmer, and an American interpreter, Gadir Tahir. It was chaos right after that explosion. It was sudden. They weren't anticipating something like this going down, but the enemy always has a vote. You know, you have to be right every time. They only have to be right once. They were out there by themselves. There wasn't some sort of QRF on standby for them. There wasn't really anything that they could do besides fend for themselves. And
oh yeah, I'm still fighting for my fucking disability.
Fortunately, there was an American helicopter that was unaffiliated with the mission, but was flying nearby and saw the smoke plume. The people on that helicopter were
Look at that.
Special operations personnel.
It's insane.
So they went and landed and immediately started running and jumping into vehicles and doing what they could to get down to the blast site and provide help. It took multiple hours to be able to find everybody again because the fallen Americans were at 3 different medical facilities and they had to work through the locals to figure out where people were taken and then go recover them. From what I understand, Shannon Kent was the last one recovered, and that sort of officially began the process that is put in place when any American dies overseas. There's a notification process.
It would make a really good movie. I think somebody should make the movie of her whole life, and maybe it doesn't have the greatest ending, right? But she basically dedicated her whole life to this. She even had cancer at one point, went away, beat cancer, and came back.
That begins. Joe Kent, her husband, was actually also deployed, not to the same country, but another spicy region.
I got back from being outside the wire myself, and then a mutual friend of ours, I won't say his name, but he was my boss. And he was just like, hey, I'm going to tell you what we know. We don't know much right now. He's like, there's been a suicide bombing in Manbij. There's 4 U.S. killed. 2 of them are women. Do you know where Shannon is? And I was like, she's in Manbij.
Basically, Joe's worst fears were come true, and now he was a single father, and he knew he had 2 young boys back home that he needed to get home to. Everything changed in that moment. He knew that he would have to leave behind his career at the CIA. He needed to be home with his boys.
I got to figure out something completely different, and I didn't really have a plan. You know, I was going to find a job doing something, but really try and dedicate the most time to the kids.
He had to figure out what was next, and chief among those concerns was making sure Shannon's story was told.
There's the book. Send me the true story of a mother of war. Okay.
Who is this guy? Who is his wife? She seemed incredible, and this is such a tragedy. He invited me down to the memorial service that they were going to do for her down at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. This was significant because Shannon Kent would end up being the first Navy enlisted sailor to ever be allowed to have a memorial service in the Naval Academy's chapel. It had never been done before. They had to get high-level waivers to get this done, but she was that special to the Navy community. And so on February 7th, I flew down to Maryland to link up with Joe, and I still remember sitting down with him at his family home, the place that him and Shannon were raising their kids, and I was so struck by how mission-focused he was on getting his wife's story out there.
I think it's really important to tell the stories of people who haven't had their stories told before.
Got a call from Joe, and he said, let's start working on a book.
2014, whenever they signed that memo that women can finally go to combat, well, women have been in combat basically since the beginning of the GWAT, and Shannon was one of them.
They were out hunting high-value targets. They were doing work at a level most people aren't even aware of even existing.
And through telling her story, I think there's a lot of other women that are either out now or still in. They're like, okay, all right, our story's actually being told. Maybe I can tell mine as well. I think that's important.
She's a cancer survivor. She was the mother of 2 young boys. She was an artist, a gardener, a great cook, a lover of culture and movies. She was somebody that gave a shit. She was filled with love, and she cared about the people in her charge as a Navy chief. She cared about the people she worked with, her peers, and she cared about solving what ended up becoming what we now know today as a veteran mental health crisis.
I mean, one of the last conversations I had with Shannon, I was just like, don't be the last person to die in a war that everybody's already forgotten about. Like, just be careful, as careful as you possibly can. But she was there doing her job, and their job was to be out front looking for bad guys, and that's ultimately what got them killed. I mean, I think there's only so many times you can be in this profession and be lucky.
We know that many of the people responsible for the attack in Manbij that day met their ultimate demise at the hands of, again, American special operators. We're not here to tell a special operations tell-all or some sort of expose on the world of intelligence. We're here to tell the story of Shannon Kent and who she was and why she mattered, and hopefully inspire a few people when they read this book. Shannon called her cousin Sharon the following evening, the night before she was to leave. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, Shannon said. I just like the way Joshy smells after bath time. She was not at peace with her decision to go on another deployment, but she'd already put on her proverbial war paint. Duty to country and duty to family are almost always mutually exclusive. A warrior like Shannon was rarely afforded the satisfaction of tending to one without sacrificing the other. But she was forced to choose between her love of family and devotion to duty for the first time. The time had come. Shannon's 3-year-old Colt was old enough to understand his mom was going to war. Mama, no fight bad guys, he told her. This trip, her 5th to an active combat zone, was different in that Colt and Josh would be at home without their mom for a significant period of time. And she knew deep down that the work she was going over to do was not exactly safe. She would be conducting intelligence operations on behalf of the U.S. This would mean going into contested territory in unmarked vehicles, often with nothing more than her wits and a pistol on her hip. Shannon gave her boys one final kiss, still struggling internally about leaving. She and Joe enlisted his parents to watch the boys while they drove to Shannon's point of departure. Will this be the last time I see the kids? She asked Joe as they began their drive.
There you go, Shannon Kent. There's tons of stories like this. This is just one that I remembered who she was. And Joe Kent, her husband, still telling her story. So there you go.
Yeah, good-looking guys. Thank you very much for being here. All of you, thank you so much.
Pretty little guys down there.
Freedom is a gift of the highest cost, and peace is won at the most precious price. These extraordinary American heroes and their immense and ultimate sacrifices, they offer only the faintest glimpse at the infinite grace we have received from all who laid down their lives for America over the past 250 years. We're going to have a big celebration, as you know, 250 years. In some ways, I'm glad I missed that second term where it was, because I wouldn't be your president. For that most important of all, in addition, we have the World Cup and we have the Olympics. Can you imagine? I missed that 4 years, and now look what I have. I have everything.
Again, Memorial Day speech.
The way things work out. God,
like he doesn't even know. He just reverts back to fucking rally.
I believe that too. God did that. I believe that too.
If God did this, fuck God. I'm done.
You know, I got the World Cup and I got the Olympics. The 250 years was not mine. I'd like to take credit for it. But I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup when I was president. And I said, boy, it's too bad I won't be president then. And look what happened. I turned out that we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great celebration. But most important of all is the 250th anniversary. That blows everything away, including the World Cup and including the Olympics, as far as I'm concerned. In any corner of the cemetery, at any resting place for our war dead, anywhere on earth.
Right back into the cemetery speech.
Untold stories of equal heroism and heartbreak unmatched, patriotism and devotion and acts of selflessness and courage so enormous they defy.
When God gives you lemons, get a new God.
comprehension. Most people can't even imagine it. Great poets have written that it's love which moves the sun and the stars, but here on the sacred soil, right where we are.
Right. What he doesn't understand is he's everybody's president. All he wants is his worshipers to worship him. Once you become president, you switch over to becoming everybody's president, right? And there's times to take your jabs and down the other. It's not every fucking time you open your mouth.
We're reminded that it's love which moves the course of history and moves it always toward freedom, always. From Bunker Hill to Bastogne to Cantigny to Coral Sea, from Gettysburg to Guadalcanal and Concord to Kabul. America's best and America's bravest have fought, bled, and died so that we could pick up the torch of liberty, raise it high, 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 and carry it onward to places they could never have dreamed of before. Today we honor their memory. We remember their gallantry. We just revere, in the highest sense, we just revere their incredible legacy. We salute them in their eternal and everlasting glory, and we continue our relentless pursuit of America's destiny as we make our nation stronger, prouder, freer, and greater than ever before. May God bless our fallen heroes. May God bless our Gold Star families, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, everybody. Great honor. Thank you.
This fucking commencement was wild, too. Like, it's all fucking wild, dude.
Thank you very much.
If only that guy and fucking Butler would have had a little bit more range time. You practice, you got to train like you're under the gun, right? Practice like you play. Jesus, blew it. Oh.
You will never. Nazira, point. You ready? Come on.
God damn, dude. She's dead. She's dead. Holy shit.
Never. Nazira, point. You ready? Come on.
Good God Almighty, dude. Oh, God. Everybody's making fun of this fucking song. This song is viral right now. So, this guy's an artist, and he was performing a show. And I guess he's got, like, this new single that not a lot of his fans know yet because it's, like, brand new. And he did something really cool. He decided to come down off the stage, surrounded by his fans, and sing them this version of the song. But it's being pushed so hard right now that people are making fun of it in the worst ways. Here it is. They're making fun of his tippy toes. They're making fun of his singing. They're making fun of his bravado in his voice. They're making fun of everything, dude. And he's honestly a good musician. Watched the whole performance. Everyone was brought in, and he walked off the stage in the middle of a crowd to create a moment for his final song. First time seeing him live, and it was unreal. So his fans seem to enjoy it, but everybody's making fun of it right now.
Nate, can you help me out, please? Can't find the key.
He doesn't even know the key to this song, what key it's in.
Married in a year. There you go. You'll be married in a year in the suburbs.
And the song sounds really cool. Basically, it sounds like, I don't know the song. I don't know it. But it sounds like him and a girl broke up. And he's pursuing his dream, and she's doing her thing. So he's saying, you'll be married in a year. You'll be married in a year in a suburb, and I'll just be this crazy kid out here still writing love songs. But whatever, here we go.
The kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream. And I'll be dancing out in California.
Yeah, right where you are.
People are saying it's fake and he's an industry plant and all kinds of shit.
Myself, one day I'll write a love song. Another girl I dated married. 8 of them. Chase the heartbreak with the pantry. 7 down, how many to go? I'm insecure and I wanna know. Is it my great mistake to light that fire with you standing there?
Yeah, I think he's a good musician. He's getting a lot of hate right now. Right now, though. Right now. Look.
Am I unattracted to romance? Fuel for your love affair. I thought
It's the last part everybody's making fun of, so just wait.
baby. Oh, I guess you loved him.
It's also weird that like these are like a ton of his fans, but none of them know the song. So none of them's like singing along. Everybody's just kind of like stone face. Like, look at their faces and shit.
Evening later. Wow. Can't believe
Wow.
ever believed in fate. Was it ever gonna be me? Was it ever gonna be me? You'll be married in a year in the suburbs. The kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream.
Yeah, the vibratos is a lot of people are making fun of that. Like people are doing complete reenactments of this.
I'll be dancing out in California.
See his toes, everybody's making fun of.
Got it all wrong.
He's like doing like this tiptoe thing.
One day
Wait till the very last chorus.
But there ain't a door in this city with enough for me. Oh, just a wild-eyed boy, too wild and free. Oh, don't go claim me, or it's not you, it's me. Oh, I've been around the block to feel when it's over. And when it's over,
This part is where it's coming.
you'll be married in a year in the
On his tiptoes.
with a kid on the way in 3.
3.
Convincing yourself you're living the American
The salute.
dream. And I'll be dancing out in California. Kid who got it all wrong. Convincing
One person claps.
one day I'll write a love song. Thank you very much.
So it was cool. He was trying to have like this special moment, maybe a viral video, but the internet is hating it. Dancing out in California. The internet is fucking hating it, dude. Wait till you see the reenactments. So this is the one he posted.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs.
It's a short version.
On the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream. And I'll be dancing out in California. Kid who got it all wrong.
All right, so let's see the reenactments.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs.
Tiptoes.
The kid on the way in 3.
3.
Convincing yourself you're living the American
What the fuck?
And I'll be dancing out in California.
Volume down.
Kid who got it all wrong. You'll be married in a year in the suburbs with a kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you live in the American dream.
There was one guy that was levitating. If we can find if I can find it, I'll show it to you. Hold on.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs with a kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream. And I'll be dancing out in California. The kid who got it all wrong. Convincing myself one day I'll write a love song. You'll be married in a year.
Still looking. Give me a second.
The kid on the way in 3.
This is all I've seen all day.
You'll be married in a year in the suburb with a kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream. Right now, baby.
I'm saying I remind you of Noah Kahn, the Lumineers, Zach Bryan, and Benson Boone.
That's actually his account.
The guitar, but married.
Okay, yeah, it's funny, but are y'all hearing him though? You'll be married in a year in the suburbs.
Everybody's making fun of it, yes.
With a kid on the way in 3. Convincing you
Did I pass the one I'm looking for?
the American dream. And you'll be married in a year in the suburbs. You'll be married in a year in the suburbs. With a kid on the way in 3. You'll be married in a year in the suburbs.
You're the one person who clapped thinking the song was over.
In 3.
Oh no.
Convincing yourself you're living the American dream. And I'll be dancing on California. Kid who got it all wrong.
Damn it, there was one that was hilarious. I can't find it right now.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs. A kid on the way.
Anyways, the internet's not having it. God, there was one guy who was so funny. He was in front of his stove. Anyways, I did grab one more. Let's see.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs. With a kid on the way in 3. Convincing you'll live in the
Oh no.
American dream. And I'll be dancing in California.
Anyways, internet hates it. That's what's going on right now. I just happened to see it and it reminded me of it.
What the hell was that? Donald Trump just wrapped up the most disastrous,
It wasn't good, I'll tell you that much.
of his political career so far at the West Point Military Academy, where he ranted and raved about how great Al Capone was, extolled the virtues of having a trophy wife, and boasted about using the military to hold the rest of the world at gunpoint. But before we unpack all that, if you end up
wild
this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, Republican pollster Frank Luntz, who is a Trump critic, was talking about how great the past 2 weeks have been for Donald Trump and saying that he would cap the 2 weeks with a historic speech at West Point Military Academy. I'm not quite sure this is what Frank Luntz had in mind, so somebody should check on him afterwards. Donald Trump emerged with a MAGA hat on, totally defying the decorum of West Point. You're not supposed to be wearing campaign merch.
They do not do campaign merch at all. I mean, wear a suit, that's about it. But Trump can't do that.
Military speech, be it Democrat or Republican, so major faux pas number one. And then came what actually left his mouth. Brace yourselves. It's stunning.
Company, and he had nothing to do. He ended up getting a divorce, found a new wife. Could you say a trophy wife? I guess we can say a trophy wife. It didn't work out too well, but that doesn't work out too well. I must tell you, a lot of trophy wives doesn't work.
The fuck?
But it made him happy for a little while at least. But he found a new wife. He sold his little boat and he got a big yacht. He had one of the biggest yachts anywhere in the world. Company.
Vice President Mike Pence, welcome back.
Oh shit.
That's real. That's not artificial intelligence. That's not a deep fake. That's real.
Couldn't you say a trophy wife?
The commencement speech of West Point Military Academy. And people want to talk about President Biden's mental fitness. People should be talking about the sitting president's mental fitness. And it doesn't get any better from here.
Army careers. And I thought I'd do this, and I can make this to a civilian audience or to a military audience. It's pretty much the same. And I did this recently at Ohio State, and they really liked it. I gave them a little advice as to what I see for what you want to do and some tips. And first of all, and you've already done it, different from civilians, they're making their decision right now. You've already made your decision. I love your decision. You have to do what you love. You have to do what you love. If you don't love it, you'll never be successful at it. And you've done this, and you really, many of you in the audience, many of you that are graduating, you come from military backgrounds, or you love the military. It's what you want to do. It's what you want to talk about. One thing I see about people that love the military, that's all they want to talk about. I'll be out to dinner and generals, if they love their job, usually the only good ones are the ones that want to talk about it all the time. But if they talk, that's what they want to talk about.
Yeah, so again, I would argue there are pretty fundamental differences about civilian life versus military life, number one and number two. While he was talking about this, I'm like, Ohio State. I'm pretty sure he's talking about, I want to say it was the University of Alabama. It was either University of Auburn, or it was the University of Alabama.
Alabama, I believe.
We actually covered that in a video, which is a very different state from Ohio. So again, calling into Donald Trump's mental health, calling it seriously into question. He didn't give a commencement speech at Ohio State. What the hell is he talking about? This is totally unhinged. This guy's brain's leaking out of his ears. And then what he
tells him to avoid trophy wives.
Had to say here was startling, especially because we've been assured by Trump, MAGA Republican lawmakers, prominent MAGA Republican populists, that Donald Trump isn't a hawk. He's not a John Bolton, Karl Rove, Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney hawk. He's a dove. Well, listen to what he has to say about the military and the point of the military.
This is wild right here. Remember, he's the peace guy, right? This is the point of our military. What is the point of our military?
The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun.
To spread democracy around the world at the point of a gun. That sounds like someone that's very, very, very upset with our foreign policy, saying you guys go around spreading democracy at the point of a gun. It doesn't sound like somebody that's advocating. What the fuck?
To transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America anywhere, anytime, and any place.
That's to spread democracy around the world at the point of a gun.
Sounds pretty hawkish. That sounds like a pretty hawkish conception of the military. Not robust national defense. It sounds very offensive, right? To go anywhere to crush our adversaries, not to protect us from any adversary. But no, he has an offensive notion of the United States military, which belies, his claims to be a dove. It sounds very, very hawkish. Then, of course, he wants to talk about stealth technology. And one of the recurring things about Donald Trump is he seems to believe that stealth jets are like literally invisible. He's referred to it.
I think this is true. He keeps saying things like, stealth, I can see it right there. Or the shape of the wing makes it stealth, but I don't know, I see the wing.
As such in the past, and here again, he seems to be tripped up on stealth technology.
And I've approved a $1 trillion investment, and that will be, again, the largest ever in the history of our country. And we are buying you new airplanes, brand new, beautiful planes, redesigned planes, brand new planes, totally stealth planes. I hope they're stealth. I don't know, that whole stealth thing, I'm sort of wondering. You mean if we shape a wing this way, they don't see it, but the other way they see it? I'm not so sure, but that's what they tell me.
Again, he just seems so tripped up on this stuff. He seems to think that he's in an episode of, Wonder Woman or whatever.
You say so.
Invisible jet. It's really stunning stuff. Speaking of $1 trillion, he talks about the defense budget as well. And we were assured by some progressives and many right-wing populists that Donald Trump is not only a dove, but in order to limit the size of government, in order to cut government size and inefficiency and waste, fraud, and abuse, that he would be cutting our bloated defense budget. Well, Trump apparently didn't get that memo.
We have that army geared up. We have ordered, we just went $1 trillion military budget.
They kept saying they were going to the Pentagon. They're going to cut it. They're going to do it.
That $1 trillion, some people say, could you cut it back? I said, I'm not cutting 10 cents. There's another thing we can cut. We can cut plenty of others, right, Dan? We can cut plenty of other things. And you have a good man in Dan, too, General. I think
he's not cutting 1 cent.
Find that. It's a very different warfare out there.
Oh, thank you for the resubscription. You're getting close to 3 years. Thank you very much.
Now they've introduced a thing called drone.
Stephanie.
A drone is a little bit different. You have to go back and learn a whole new form of warfare.
You think we've just introduced drones to warfare?
Now they've introduced a thing called drone. A drone is a little bit different. You have to go back and learn a whole new form of warfare, and you're going to do it better than anybody else. There won't be anybody close.
I flew a drone when I was in. I was certified and flew a drone when I was in. A backpack launch drone. On patrols.
Drones are nothing new.
In fucking 2009?
They've been around for decades. They've introduced a new thing called drone. It's very different. You guys might have heard of it. You may not have. It's brand new. It's called drone. They know what drone technology is. They know what drone warfare is. The United States is engaged in drone warfare. Often, unfortunately, killing civilians. As a matter of fact, under President Biden, drone warfare was practically non-existent. We reduced drone warfare. Whereas under Donald Trump, he increased drone warfare from the Obama era and, unlike President Obama, actually lowered the reporting requirements for civilian casualties from drone strikes. So we know that Trump significantly, exponentially increased drone warfare in his first term.
And doesn't have to report it under the same standards.
Very likely increased the number of civilian casualties, but took steps to hide those figures from the American people. So pretty disgusting stuff. Here, Donald Trump extols the virtues of one of history's most infamous gangsters.
And the American people, because they're always going to be there for you. I went through
the late great
with some very radicalized, sick people, and I say I was investigated more than the great late Alphonse Capone. Alphonse Capone was a monster. He was a very hardened criminal. I went through more investigations than Alphonse Capone, and now I'm talking to you as president. Can you believe this? Can you believe it? So you got to fight hard. You got to never give up, and don't let bad people take you down. You got to take them down. Got a lot of bad people out there, and those people, you have to figure it out. But you also have a lot of great people. Finally, hold on to your culture and your traditions, because that's what makes...
By the way, Kermit the Frog did a commencement at Maryland's. It was better than this. A lot better than this. It was like, go on, be successful, stay in touch with your friends. You need people around you that are good, and always pursue your dreams no matter how big they are. It wasn't democracy at the point of a gun.
Make something really great, and that's...
So again, this idea that Al Capone is somebody to admire, to emulate, the late great, pretty weird. He of course said that about Hannibal Lecter too, so it's possible he's just reaching for a stock phrase because his brain is so corroded that he can't come up with any sort of original turn of phrase or thought to describe anybody, no matter how repulsive. But yeah, it's truly despicable stuff. And again, turning it into a political speech about his personal grievances, really gross. Here's another clip.
And they've allowed people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. Criminals.
Yeah, what's weird about the GWAT, Global War on Terrorism, is you could have been born on 9/11 and served in the same fucking war.
Walk in, no vetting, no check-in, no nothing. Where are they coming from? And they were taking people out of prisons. They were taking gang members. They were taking the mentally insane and allowing them to come in, and we're getting them out of our country. We have no choice. We're getting them out and bringing them back where they came from. Have no choice. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But hopefully the courts will allow us to continue. You know, we had the greatest election victory. This was November 5th. We won the popular vote by millions of votes. We won all 7 swing states. We won everything. We won 2,750 districts against 505.
On that number, ASIN from Midas Touch put together a pretty good compilation of Donald Trump just getting fast and loose with these numbers. Here's a compilation of Trump again losing his train of thought, just pulling numbers out of his ass.
Got the numbers perfect.
We won everything. We won a thing called that people don't like districts. So in the country you have districts, thousands of districts. We got 2,750 districts versus 525 districts.
2,750 to 525.
That's why when you look at a map, it's actually a very important stat. When you look at a map,
very important.
It's practically all red, the Republican Party.
And very importantly, we won counties throughout the United States. 2,000.
I mean, okay. So basically, they're bashing the voting system, right? The Electoral College. If they want to go away from the Electoral College, very, very rarely will they ever win again? But whatever.
660 to 451. That's why when you look at a map,
2660 to 451 now. 2750 to 525, 2660 to 451.
So the whole country is red. Red stands for Republican. 2,750.
2750.
Districts, we call them districts, out of a total, if you look at the number, it was 2,750 to 505.
505, okay.
Red meaning Republican.
Red for Republican.
It's like he's just coming up with numbers. He's just phoning it in at this point. Number one. Number two, the election that Trump won, yes, he did win the popular vote, but he didn't even win a majority. He won a plurality. More people voted against him in the 2024 election than voted for him. It's just that he individually acquired the most votes. And yes, he did win the Electoral College. He did sweep the swing states. But if you look, it's a historically slim margin. I mean, it's not the slimmest, but it's by no means any sort of sweeping mandate. So again, he's full of shit there. And the courts have been striking Trump's actions down left, right, and center because he's going about these things in a wildly unconstitutional and illegal way. In many instances, there are perfectly legal avenues to do what Trump wants to do, and he's just eschewing them. He's just deciding to go with the most maximally authoritarian approach. He's provoking fights unnecessarily with the judiciary. When if he would just exercise a modicum of restraint, he could still do what he wants to do politically for the most part.
He also taught all the cadets that he had to leave immediately after the speech. So Joe Biden did this speech, West Point commencement. Stood around for almost 4 hours shaking hands. Donald Trump told them that he had to leave immediately after the speech to go deal with China and Russia. China and Russia, you may have heard of them. Little war in the Ukraine. And then the press caught up with him at his golf course playing golf. He told him he had to leave immediately because negotiation with China and Russia. And the press caught him hitting balls around his fucking golf course.
And also get it done legally. But he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to have to deal with courts or legislatures checks on his power. Here's another clip.
Gone are the days where defending every nation but our own was the primary thought. We are putting America first. We have to put America first. We have to rebuild and defend our nation. And very shortly, you're going to see a nation better than it's ever been. And you see that with the trade. For years, we've been ripped off by every nation in the world on trade. We've been ripped off at the NATO level. We've been ripped off like no country has ever been ripped off, but they don't rip us off anymore. They're not going to rip us off anymore. And you're seeing it. You have to watch what we're doing in trade. I know it's not your primary thing, but it's quite important in all fairness. But watch, you'll see what's going on.
We're supposed to get 90 deals in 90 days, and we've gotten at best the framework of a deal, not even a deal with the United Kingdom. So this hasn't been particularly impressive. It seems to be a lot of squeeze for no juice. So total disaster thus far from Donald Trump. One last clip as he ends his speech and leaves.
Present arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the departure of the president.
And finally takes off that damn hat. There you go, folks. Again, heretofore, by far the most unhinged speech Donald Trump has ever given at one of the most serious and supposed to be apolitical places to give a speech. So it was a total mismatch every which way. Trump is stupid, dishonest, incoherent, and clearly unfit to be president of the United States. And yet we have more than 3.5 years left to deal with this shit. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.
There you go. Trump still being a piece of shit. Don't celebrate Ashley Babbitt for Memorial Day. That's a big no-go. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Consider supporting the show while we're getting back on our feet after Hurricane Helene. We greatly appreciate it. You do that at coldbeer.fund, PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee. All those links are there. All my social media links are there. You can use bits or whatever. But please consider supporting the show. That's how I pay the bills, and we're pretty tight right now. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and I'll see everybody probably tomorrow. Thank you guys. Have a good night. It's supposed to rain all week here, so I don't know if I'll get any work done, even if it's time to start working, but we'll try. Have a good night, guys. Support the show if you can, if you feel like it. We'd appreciate it.
Happens to see this particular show, you don't have the fork and balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the fork and balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tongue.
Okay, I guess.
His bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in